Hello students, I am Professor Monica Prakash from Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management, your instructor for this module. Welcome back to the course on Destination Management. We bring this course to you as a part of ePathshala initiative of Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, to make postgraduate education accessible to all. Destinations must establish feasibility of tourism products and projects. In this module, we will discuss feasibility report, what it is and how is it prepared. Now introducing you to the concept. The study which utilized to assess potential solutions for the business problem or an opportunity and helps in determination which of the presented solutions can be utilized for further analysis is termed a feasibility report or a study. Thus, the feasibility study or report can be defined as an analysis of the viability of an idea through a disciplined and documented process of thinking through the idea from its logical beginning to its logical end. Feasibility report is carried out in order to assess the viability of the new project. The feasibility report is prepared to present the parameters of the project and define the probable solutions to the predefined problem, need or opportunity. Once the potential solutions have been analyzed by the project team, these solutions are expanded. These also providing sufficient details, including very high level costing information, to permit the project leader to recommend to the approving authority all of the viable potential solutions that should be further analyzed in the next phase. Project constraints and limitations of expenditures are among the various factors that will determine viability. A feasibility study aims to objectively and rationally uncover the strengths and weaknesses of an existing business or proposed venture, opportunities and threats present in the environment, the resources required to carry through, and ultimately the prospects for success. In its simplest terms, the two criteria to judge feasibility are cost required and the value to be attained. Feasibility reports should have an objective. It should be unbiased to provide information based on which decisions can be taken. Now, feasibility report for destination management. Preparation of feasibility report is one of the significant activity directed towards developing tourist destinations and attractions. With proper study, the managers of destinations will be able to minimize the negative impact towards society, local community, culture, local economy and develop a viable business. Now, let us try to understand what is the pre-feasibility study. Now, this is an initial overview of the project. It is based on the preliminary market research, which gives an initial indication that the proposed project is likely or unlikely a profitable venture. It is important for examining the feasibility of the destination to ensure that market is ready for the new venture. Now, let us try to highlight on what are the reasons to prepare feasibility report or study. Preparation of feasibility report or study for destination provides focus to the project. If destination marketing organization prepares a feasibility report, it narrows down the business alternatives which can be carried out at a destination. Feasibility report is also useful in an identification of new opportunities and threats the destination can face. It is useful in identification of reasons for not proceeding with the plan. Now, this also increases the probability of business success by identifying weaknesses at the early or the initial stages of the destination. The goodness about the plan is that it provides documentary proof that the idea was investigated thoroughly before implementation. Now, the question is, when should a feasibility report be prepared? Feasibility reports are typically conducted by business organizations. Other organizations can naturally benefit from it as well. Since the study aims to discover whether an action is viable, it can help organizations to avoid costly or operationally exhausting ventures. These are typically prepared in situations where an important strategic decisions need to be taken. Now, this can vary, and some of the example situations may include changes in the business location at destination, purchase and installation of new buildings or machinery at destination, development of destination. Now, if this feasibility report could act as a key to launch a successful startup at new destinations, as it helps to underline the future pain points and to determine whether the plan of developing new businesses at destination is viable in the first place. Now, this report is the perfect tool for situations where the impact is likely to be big in terms of operational or economic significance. Now let us now discuss the elements of a feasibility report. The project scope. The initial step is obviously to characterize the business problem, opportunity that must be tended to. The project scopes need to be conclusive and to the point. Drifting accounts fills no need and can really confound members. Additionally, guarantee that characterizes the parts of the business that would be influenced either specifically or in a roundabout way. Now, this would incorporate project members and end clients. An all-round characterized project extension can guarantee an exact feasibility study. Beginning a project without an all-round characterized extension can undoubtedly prompt wandering outside budget and time. Now, in destination management, whether it is worthwhile to develop a new destination for generating employment and creating new means for travel. The second step is the current market analysis. Now, this step is important as it analyzes the business condition in which the new item or administration will be put. Now, from this examination, one can find the qualities and shortcomings of the present approach. Checking on the qualities, shortcomings, openings and dangers confronted by a project helps leaders to concentrate on the master plan. Now, in a few organizations, the managers might not have any desire to approach another market unless they know they can command it. Different organizations like to concentrate on benefits picked up rather than piece of the overall industry. Now, in case of destination management, the DMOs has to prepare a master plan which would incorporate current trends in the tourism activities and should select activities which could be carried out in the proposed destination for development. The requirements. Now, this part speaks to two groups of requirements, including technical requirements and organizational requirements. Now, these are the off chances that there is a potential market and demand for this item or administration. Then managers have to distinguish what technical and asset requirements are needed for a new venture. A project manager should characterize the requirements relying upon the goal of the project. Now, project managers then downplay the physical and financial assets required for another item or administration regularly wind up with unsuccessful projects or exasperated promises. Now, in destination management, the availability of infrastructure should be analyzed which is required for connecting the destinations with the mainstream tourism circuits and what kind of amenities will be provided to the visitors. The approach DMO will next need to consider and pick the prescribed arrangement or plans to meet the requirements. Now, one can consider different choices and then pick up a solution that is the most ideal. Now, before DMO finishes on the approach, following inquiries should be answered. 1. Does the approach meet the requirements for developing and managing the destination? 2. Is the approach require a handy and reasonable arrangement for developing and managing the destination? The fifth steps pertain to evaluation. The DMO should scrutinize the cost effectiveness of the chosen approach and the evaluated add up to cost of developing a destination. Different alternatives should likewise be evaluated for examination purposes. Now, after the aggregate cost of the developing the destinations has been calculated, an assessment and cost synopsis will be set to incorporate an arrival on speculation, cost-benefit investigation and so forth. The sixth step says about the review. In the end, elements which are stated above are assembled into a feasibility study and a formal review will be directed. Now, this review will be utilized to check the exactness of the feasibility study and to study on the choice of destination for development and management. Now, at this stage, DMO can favor, dismiss or even amend the study for setting up on a choice. In this stage, the feasibility study is recommended. The DMO has to ensure that all the members are included, are present and sign the document which contains the feasibility study of the destination. Now, next we will be discussing about the types of feasibility reports or studies. Now, few of the feasibility studies which are important for the organizations are as follows. The number one is the technical feasibility. This report is based on the requirement of the system which are useful for purpose of whether the organization has got sufficient technical expertise for implementation of the project. When scripting technical feasibility report, the following deliberations should be taken into account. A succinct depiction of the destination and activities undertaken at destination to assess more possible factors which could affect the study. Number 2 point, the portion of the destination or whole destination has to be scrutinized. The economic and the human factor present at the destination should also be considered. All the conceivable alternatives to solve the problems are taken into consideration. At this level, the concern is whether the proposal for development of the destination is equally technically and economically conceivable. Supposing moderate cost, the technical feasibility appraisal is focused around selection and comprehension of the current technical issues faced by the destination and their relevance to the standard needs of the projected system. The requirement of infrastructure and technology is evaluated. Then the number 2 kind of a feasibility report could be related to financial feasibility. Now this study is an assessment of the financial parts of the projects to be developed at a destination. Now in this case, particularly for commencements of the business and maintaining it at the destination. It considers numerous things comprising of a startup capital required, costs, income and distribution of profit among the stakeholders. The DMOs should carry a financial feasibility out whenever a new project is under appraisal at the destination. The project commenced can be either the extension of the existing business or new business being set up at the destination. The paramount advantage of this type of investigation is to make it probable for a specialist to see through forecasts and numbers. It also delivers understandings to real potential return on the investment in which destinations which are constantly questioned. Now these are accommodating while determining whether the premises are noteworthy and whether the projects and destinations should be commenced or not. The third kind of a feasibility study takes into account the social factors. Now this category of feasibility studies analyzes the influence of the project on both local and general culture. It inspects the impact of project on the society and also analyzes the long-term impact on culture and society. This study scans the projects and all the environmental issues which a society could face once the planned project is being executed. The fourth kind of a feasibility study is related to operational aspects. Now, operational feasibility is measured for identifying whether the efficiency in a planned system at the destination is able to resolve the issues faced and is able to take advantage of the opportunities acknowledged through the describing the scope and how it is capable to fulfill the requirements identified in the requirements analysis stage of system development. The operational feasible assessment focuses on the degree to which the planned development of the projects at the destination is able to cope up with the existing business environment and intentions of the DMO with regard to organizational culture, development schedule, delivery date, along with the existing business processes. The fifth kind of the feasibility is related to market. Now this focuses on analyzing the markets for the planned action or idea by the DMO. It investigates several issues like whether the service or the product planned by the DMO at the destination could be made available to the visitors at affordable prices, or if there is already a market present for the product or services for the destination, now which are planned to be marketed. Market feasibility should answer the following question. Who is the segment target for the destination? Who are the targeted buyers for the destination? What is the characteristics and the number of potential buyers? Identifying of buying patterns or traveling patterns of these potential customers. Strategy plan of selling the products and services to the destination to these prospective travelers. Analysis of the strength and weaknesses of the competitors. Identifying the USP, the unique selling proposition of the product and services. The seventh kind of the feasibility is the commercial aspect. Now this is a component of the study fixated on the likelihood of commercial successes of the destination and its offerings. It's primarily concentrated on studying the new destination and products and services offered at destination and whether the stakeholders can create enough profit from selling the product or service at the destination. The queries that require responding as a part of the commercial feasibility study includes the strength and the weaknesses of the destination, identification of the potential sales volume of the product or service at the destination by the stakeholders, deciding of the pricing structure to be utilized at the destination by stakeholders and DMOs on places to visit, determination of the sensitivity points for destination and stakeholders in terms of sales. What is the return of investment by the DMO and stakeholders at destination? Furthermore, if DMO is conducting a feasibility study as a part of developing a destination, DMO is also required to answer the following question. What is the expected period in which destination and the stakeholders as destination can survive without sales? What shall be the time taken to achieve the break-even point for the businesses undertaken by stakeholders as destination? Like, what is the capital required to initiate a new business at the destination by the stakeholders? Also investigating the requirement of external sources of finance to commence the business at destination by the stakeholders. While the above arguments are mostly important for new businesses, any organization can profit from a thoughtful about them when launching a new business. Now let's start explaining it with the help of an example. If DMO is adding a new attraction at the destination, it should be the use of the above queries as a guide to consider the suggestions to other operations and to evaluate the financial viability of the introduced new product, service or businesses at the destinations by the DMO and the various stakeholders. Let us try to study about what are the steps that are involved in preparing a feasibility report. All businesses essentially need to look at the action they take, regardless of whether the business is quite recently beginning or has been in operation for a while. Setting up the suitability of a thought or activity can at least decide if a business at the destination succeeds or not. The best means for deciding this is by preparing up a feasibility report. So step number 1, conduct preliminary analysis. Preparation of a feasibility report could be a time-taking process. In addition, huge costs are involved in the preparation of a feasibility report. It is therefore good to start preparing a feasibility report by conducting a preliminary analysis. This is fundamentally a pre-screening of the suggested action, and it inspects whether an appropriate feasibility assessment is substantial in consideration of the time and money. Preliminary assessment for destination feasibility report could contain the following steps. First, investigator employed by DMO has to outline the intended idea or action for which the feasibility study is existing. This means observing at what is being considered to achieve and why. The second point, one should investigate the destination and the commercial feasibility of the action. The investigator has to get an overall feel of what type of customers is the destination is possibly attracting. The third step, investigator employed by the DMO should inspect the unique features of the destination and label them as strength or as a weakness. The idea or action may have finite unique features. For example, it could be a location, features, price, usability or so on, and these may help the organization. The fourth thing, investigator may be required to determine if there are unavoidable risks for the actions to be taken at destination. It's an essential step used to outline any of the threats that could possibly reduce the feasibility of action or idea destination close to zero. Now let's take up a step number 2. Outlining the project scope and conducting current analysis, investigator ought to proceed onward to sketching out the project scope by characterizing the destination for the feasibility study. The extension must be detailed and the diagram, the destination for feasibility study obviously. It is a smart thought to inspect the over 5 components as far as activity or though and make an activity get ready for each segment that applies to the project to be undertaken by DMO. It's a fundamental to study the diverse parts of business operating at a destination that may be affected by the proposed activity or thought by DMOs, notwithstanding when investigators are proposing something that affects the entire business specifically. That is, propelling another activity, item, getting a business or beginning a business at destination. Activities, for example, enlisting new stakeholders, employing new staff at DMO office can sometimes affect sectors that may not quickly appear glaringly evident. The way to illustrate the potential of the destination is about understanding the diverse stakeholders and end users of the proposed thought or activity at destination. For example, if DMO is moving the new activities to the destination, he needs to understand the effect it will have on the stakeholders. Change in drive can affect on economic and the non-economic performances of the stakeholders and the visitors too. Will all visitors visit the destination continuously? At last, investigator for DMO is wisely required to examine the present circumstances at the destination prior to the implementation of thought or activity. Investigator can do as much by depicting the shortcomings and qualities of the business at the destination. When investigators have finished this, investigation can study the funds and the operational advantages they are planning to accomplish with a new proposition at the destination. The step 3, comparing proposal with existing products and services offered at destination. Now, what do investigators do? Investigators is additionally required to inquire about the current competitive landscape in order to understand whether the proposed thought or activity is reasonable. Regardless of whether investigator is executing a project for another destination or propelling self-projects, the investigator needs to contrast the proposed item or benefit at the destination and other comparative things present at the destination. Now, this would mean investigators need to look at the feasibility of the selected destinations with different products and services offered at the destination or on the tourist circuit. What are the advantages proposed decision taken for development of the destination and what are the shortcomings? Are the dangers related with the destination selected for development are smaller or greater than those of competitive destinations? A similar investigation applies when propelling another destination. Some portion of the feasibility study should then concentrate on understanding what the visitors or the travelers are searching for and whether proposed thought answers these requirements. Let's come on to the step 4. Now, this examines the market condition. Investigator also needs to investigate the existing marketing conditions in all external environment aspects. There are 4 specific points when it comes to analyzing markets in terms of feasibility. Defining the target marketplace, examining the tourism habits of the market in the target market, considering the sale and the market share outlook of the proposed destination, and the 4th is outlining the destination awareness required for visiting the destination. The fundamental objective of this piece of the feasibility study is to understand the income projection for performing the proposed activity at the destination desired for development. Now, investigator needs to have a practical understanding of the sort of offer by investigator and the extent of the limited time exercises investigators are required to attempt for examining conditions for developing destination. Let's say, for example, in terms of destination awareness, investigator must be able to determine the type of marketing required for potential visitors to understand the destination. Now, step 5, understanding the financial cost. Amongst the most important step for closing a feasibility study for destination includes calculating the financial cost identified with the proposition. Regardless of what sorts of thought or activity they was thinking about at the destination or for the stakeholders, financial cost of it can be the major point in deciding its feasibility. The principal rule of any successful destination is determining requirement of capital for its development and for promoting the activities or actions undertaken at destination. Therefore, any move DMO makes needs to look at the effect it will have on the pay and the benefit of the destination. The financial cost related with the proposed thought or activity will actually depend on the proposition. However, investigations have the following things to consider in all instances. The resources compulsory for implementation of the idea or action at destination, the source for financial resources, whether it would be internal or external financing, the realistic profits from the idea or action, from the sales figure, improvement in productivity, decrease in operational cost at destination, and definitely the break-even schedule for the destination. Now, this refers to the time taken to a point when the profits from the idea or action are equivalent to the cost associated with it. But with this, the financial threats related with the idea or action to be implemented at destination. Now, this can refer to uncertain market situations, the likelihood of requiring more resources. The financial cost of failure. An investigator should also calculate the financial cost of the worst case situation. Now, this can determine whether the destination has still got all the new means to embark on new venture or not. The probability of using assessments in the above calculation is moderately high. Therefore, it is important to lead legitimate research and to be as practical with the figures as could reasonably be expected. Overall, positive disclosure, for instance surpassing sales figures, are not hard to oversee, dissimilar to excessively positive disclosures that turn out to be the base. Step 6. Reviewing and analyzing data. Finally, the investigator needs to review the feasibility study of destination prudently and inspect the findings with the same. The rule of thumb is to simply take a step back and reflect on the research before jumping onto any kind of conclusions. After study, one should look around and consider the following questions. Are there any risks investigator was not aware of previously associated with the destination? It could be something like, have the market conditions changed? Or it could be, is business situation still the same in terms of operations and economic situations? If the conditions have changed, the investigator can review these part of feasibility study for destination. Now, once investigator reviewed results, investigator can go ahead and make the final verdict. The feasibility study should provide the answer to the investigator. Either they have to move ahead with the proposed idea or action or scrap the idea and start looking into something diverse. So, coming down to what we have learned today. So, talking about the summary. So, what is a feasibility study? A feasibility study for destination is an investigation of how effectively a project can be completed, keeping it in mind the factors that influence it. For instance, financial, mechanical, legal and planning factors. The DMOs utilize these feasibility studies to decide probable positive and negative results of the project before contributing a lot of time and capital into it. Feasibility study ponders to enable DMOs to decide and organize the greater part of the important elusive elements to make a destination lucrative for visitors and profitable for the stakeholders. Now, this distinguishes logistical problems and virtually all of the business related problems at the destination, alongside providing the answers for implementing them. Feasibility studies can likewise prompt the improvement in marketing strategies for destination that could encourage investors or a bank to invest financial resources for developing a destination and also providing financial support to the stakeholders for developing their business. Thank you.